Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Freelancer's Tea Break, the short and sweet podcast you can enjoy whilst you're making a cuppa. So, one thing you might not know about me is that I'm a bit of a gamer. Now, I've always kind of shied away from the term gamer because when people say it, like when they say, oh, they're a gamer, they often think of boys playing Call of Duty, not a nearly middle-aged woman playing on the Nintendo Switch or their phone. It's actually been really nice over the last few years to see the rise of cozy gaming as a genre. And as someone who's always enjoyed gaming, hands up if you remember blowing into a game cartridge when you were younger to get it to work properly, it's great to have that community now. In fact, gaming is embedded in a lot of areas of my life. It's possibly because I have ADHD, and I know that I have to make things interesting in order to actually get them done and get the dopamine to do them, especially very dull grown-up tasks. Here are just a few of the ways that I currently gamify my freelance and my home life actually as well. So, number one, I roll the dice or I race the clock for housework. I hate housework. I hate doing it. I'm very lucky to have a wonderful cleaner that comes once a week, but you still got to tidy for the cleaner and keep things going. So what I do is I make a list and then I either roll a dice to choose a task. So there'll be numbers down the side and I might have 6 tasks, or if I've got 12, obviously I have 2 dice. And I roll that dice and I see which one I'm going to start with. The worst comes to the worst. I roll a dice and then I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that task at all. So I roll it again. I'm still going to do something. Or I set a timer to race against the clock to get that task done. Sometimes I'll also choose a song and see if I can get, say, the kitchen tidy in one song. Or I'll set a 60-second timer and see if I can get the dishwasher emptied in 60 seconds. The other thing I also do around housework is sometimes if I'm feeling really overwhelmed and struggling to get any dopamine to even start, I will feed all the tasks that I need to do into ChatGPT. I've trained it quite well now so that it understands that I have ADHD, that the approach of eat that frog isn't always going to work for me. So sometimes I need small tasks to get me going, get the momentum going. So then it feeds me a task at a time to do and also encourages me and things like that. It's like having a little cheerleader. Sometimes that's what you've got to do to get the job done. But what I tend to do is I don't do all those things every week. I don't do the same things every week. I see how I feel because I still need the novelty and for things to feel fresh. So that's the first way I gamify my life. Secondly, racing the clock is not something I just use for housework. I use it a lot for work tasks. So I use a tool called Sunsama, which is a great, I think I've talked about it quite a bit in the past actually. It's a great tool. It allows me to drag my emails into my to-do list and then into my calendar so that I actually time block and stick to it. And there's loads of different features. And one of the things on there is it nudges you to estimate how long you think a task will take. And then you can set a timer and actually time how long it will take. And that for me is brilliant because it makes me have something to beat, like a time to beat. They also do have an AI function where it can guess how long something will take. And for me, that just adds more competition because I'm like, I want to beat the AI. It also brings in a bit of Parkinson's law, which is the theory that a task will expand to fill the time that you allow for it. If you have an estimated amount of time that you think something will take, I love that I can then kind of beat that. Whereas if I think I have to do, like, if I allow loads of time to do something, it's just going to end up getting pushed back to the end of that time frame. Number 3 is side quests. So this is kind of probably the last year I've been doing this a bit more. And this is identifying tasks as side quests to help me stay on track. Now, there could be like, for some people, they might say, oh, that's procrastination or that's just an irrelevant task. But essentially, a side quest is something that is not focused on the goal that you're currently working on, but it might be like a little fun little journey. Say you're doing a long journey somewhere. It might be a little stop on the way, like a little shop. I've gone too far into this, bless you now. So I'm going to pull it back. But the idea is that when you feel like you're going off task, you identify it as a side quest and either set a timer for how long you're going to spend on that, or you add it to a list and you're like, that's a side quest that I will address once I've finished this particular main adventure. Sometimes the language that we use can just make things more interesting, and saying side quest is so much better than that's procrastination or that's a waste of time or anything like that. I don't actually believe many things are a waste of time, but yeah, it really helps. And this works well for meetings as well. So I've been in meetings where it's a real mix of neurodivergent and neurotypical people, and it's very easy for things to go off track. And by identifying something as a side quest, it makes people feel heard, but still able to stay on track. So you can say, that sounds great, let's add it to the side quest list. And that makes it a lot easier than everybody constantly going off on tangents. So just to give you an example, at the moment, I've just finished the first draft, very rough first draft of my book, and I'm taking a 2-week break before editing. Normally I would be like, I'm just going to keep going with momentum. But my wonderful book coach, Gail, was like, you need to take 2 weeks break. You need to give it some air. And she's right. What it means is that I can focus on some side quests around the book. So things like looking into the self-publishing and the actual steps I need to take, and more importantly, book covers. That's really fun. That's a great, fun side quest. But I can do that now because the first part of my adventure, writing the first draft, is done, and now I have time for the side quests. And then once the 2 weeks are up, I'm back on for the next step in the adventure. So that's side questing. Number 4 is stats tracking, which sounds a bit boring actually, doesn't it? But every week, Jo Shock, who is my wonderful right-hand woman, and I get together and we go through all the stats in my business. So social media followings, email list numbers, discovery calls, coaching calls booked, and courses sold. It's quite fun because, like, for example, we might see just for example, I use ConvertKit or Kit now for my emails, and I've noticed I've suddenly started getting a lot more people from their kind of creative fund thing, which is like their other newsletters can refer you. So I'm getting a lot of people coming from that, but then they drop off quite quickly as well. So that means we can drill down into where are they dropping off, what's not working, do we need to look at who's referring people our way? There's lots of different things that I can explore and see what's working and what's not. But also, sometimes as a freelancer, you can feel like you are constantly doing the same thing and not seeing massive improvement. And checking those stats every week can be really, really helpful for identifying small changes and what's working and what's not. And it's fun. Just off the back of stats tracking as well is number 5, which is streaks. So I recently joined Elizabeth Goddard's membership. I've loved all of her courses, so I had to join her membership as well. And part of hers is something called Silver Streaks, where you track when you start to get a streak. So a daily email sign up or a daily sale. It could be multiple, but the idea is to get as long a streak as possible. And once you get a certain number, you unlock rewards like being mentioned in her newsletter and things like that. It's such a clever way of using gamification to get people engaged. And it's something I'm probably going to look at in some of my courses. But I think streaks are such a good way, because also then if the streak ends, you can just start another streak. So it takes some of the pressure off it. It's not like a habit where you feel like you've dropped out of a habit. And the final thing I want to mention is rewards. This is one thing I encourage all my coaching clients to do. When you're setting your goals, set rewards for completing them as well. You don't have to. You don't have a manager. You don't have a manager to give you regular encouragement, bonuses, or rewards as a freelancer. I mean, you might have a great client who does that, but it's not always the case. So you need to give them to yourself. Plus, it's really hard to get pure satisfaction for completing something and actually move on from a goal unless you've taken that time to reflect and reward yourself. And these rewards don't have to be big. It could be an hour binging whatever's on Netflix after a big report. It could be a spa afternoon after completing a big contract. I mean, I know a lot of people who are a big fan of using reward stickers. So there's lots of different things that you can do. There are a ton of other ways that other people gamify their lives. I know people who do bingo cards of their tasks, others who do, as I mentioned, stickers like reward stickers or gold star stickers, points. There's all sorts of different things. So I would say, how can you start to gamify some of your freelance life to make it a bit more fun and also to help you move your business a little bit further along? So I'd love to know what you think. Come join us in the Facebook group. And there's a Discord now. The Discord is going really well. I'll be sharing soon how it is a month down the line. But the Discord is lovely. It's free as well, like the Facebook group. But it's just a place where if the Facebook group, if you're not a fan of Facebook right now, the Discord is there for you. And it's really fun. We've even got like a D&D game going. There's book chat and lots of freelance chat as well. So I hope you have a wonderful freelance week.